This Florida location used to reverberate to the sounds of B-17 bomber engines, but tonight it is reverberating to the sound of V8 supercars. We're back, round 2 of the JINX Shifters Super 2 series here at Sebring, of course. And with me to call all the action tonight after a ripping first round, looking forward to the same tonight, Dave Douglas. How you going?
Good, Ed. Good evening, everyone. Yep, first round, round 2 should be good. It's bumpy, Sebring. See what they boys have got for us.
Yeah, it's going to be bumpy, isn't it? The champagne is barely dry from the Sebring 12 hour that we held here over the weekend. Already we've got the supercars out here for their round here. So obviously being a Super 2 series, fixed setup tonight, development series for all these guys. You're not going to see the very, very top, the big names from Scots in here. You're going to see the guys who are on their way there. If you want to see who the drivers are that are going to be the future drivers of Scots and Australian Online Supercar Championship, this is where you come. This is where those names are being made. So had a bit of a look so far at the drivers out there just practicing. They have done some qualifying. We will have a grid for you in a little bit of time. But just in terms of what you're actually looking for, Dave, of course, I believe you were involved in some way in the 12 hour over the weekend. Is that right? You give us a little bit of a understanding of what the drivers are going to expect around the circuit tonight.
Yeah, myself, I wasn't involved. I was busy. I was away, but I know some of my teammates were. Which had some good success through this one. But yeah, as from a V8 standpoint, I guess, yeah, it's obviously a bumpy track. Easy to lock a brake, make mistakes, especially into the turn 2-3 section. It's nice and tight through there, so it's going to be a bit of a hot spot. So we've got to keep an eye out for some action through there. But other than that, it's a really fun track, but yeah, challenging.
Absolutely. So, just before we get all started, we've got around about 4 minutes or so before we actually get into the actual racing itself. We don't do this by ourselves. We will just give a little bit of love to our sponsors, of course. We've got JINX Shifters, the title sponsors of this series, that make all of the the shifters and anti-roll bar adjusters and things like that you can bolt onto your sim rig. Very, very high gear. And then, of course, we've got a Bruzzy Racewear. Their motto, your wear, your way. They custom racewear, gloves, boots, team apparel, anything that you want, and they'll do it absolutely custom for you. And then, of course, we've got Simfinity, which are Australian designed, strong and affordable 80/20 sim rigs if you want something to bolt that jig shifters onto. And, of course, Virtual Motorsport Mentor as well, who kindly supply our safety car tonight as well. And they're basically a mentoring service, a driver coaching service. They're designed to give sim racers the information to develop themselves as drivers inside and outside the simulator, focused on developing the racing skills within the service of iRacing. So it's fantastic to have those guys on board with us once again, and they will be on board season long.
Yeah, no, certainly. So again, I think tonight the guys to look out for is going to be Josh Thomas again. I can see that just in this warm-up session. I think he is the fastest currently. With Michael Whiting, I know he had a good race last week, and
maybe.
And tonight we've got another track trivia. So a lot of people enjoyed the first one that we did last week about the Wall of Champions. So this one is all about the Sebring, and particularly its marquee race, the Sebring 12, dates all the way back into the 50s and 60s racing at this location. So, and this is one for the historians. The question is, the 1965 Sebring 12-hour race is one of the most, if not the most, remembered, memorable, or whatever you want to call it, race in the history of this location. But why was it so memorable? What was it about that particular race that set it apart from all other races, not only here, but all around the world? So if you know that, let us know in the comments, and stick around at the end of the broadcast. We'll tell you the answer, and we'll see if you got it right.
Yeah, it's kind of you got me already, so I'm going to do some thinking in the meantime. 1965, you're saying, so it is a very long time ago, but I'll have a stab, mate.
Okay, well, what is your stab?
All right, they were racing B-17 bombers, mate. That's what. At the
They
end.
were, they were not racing B17 bombers.
Ah, you're joking me, mate.
No, that's surprising. Surprisingly enough, they weren't. So anyway, we'll come back to that one a bit later on. But it is the 1965 event, quite a remarkable race. But of course, we're hoping for another remarkable race here. We did have quite an interesting one first time out at Canada last time around. The Montreal circuit produced an absolute cracker for us. So we're hoping to get similar thing again. So we're just going to very quickly roll through the grid. So we got Joshua Thomas starting on pole, Bailey Bell second, Whiting third, Ruwalt fourth. Then Morgan, Hettersheld, Veacock, Scott, Alex Court, Jonathan Ben, Matthew Kidd, Simon Chadwick in 12th, Jamie Davis 13th, Jason Hardigan 14th, Peter Hunter, Chris Barnes, Marty Hanson, Lachlan Manif, Darren Caldwell, and Chris Kerr in the 20th position. And then we've got Tony Gaffer, Tony Clark, Wayne Taylor, Riley Curtis, John Schultz, Tyson McAvoy, Tim Mulford, Paul Warwick, Joseph Daly, Ben Morris, Alexander Newton, Benjamin Siren, Craig Schultz, Simon Richardson, Isaac Edwards, Lassith Leonage, and Jack Johnson, rounding out your field of 38 cars.
38 cars, big strong field here tonight. We've got about 10 seconds, I think, before we take the green flag.
All right, all the drivers trying to stay absolutely as calm as possible, get a good start, just feather the throttle. Remember, they're on cold tyres here as well, so we're going to see some tail-happy action from these cars, I believe. Revs rise, we're going to be on our way very, very shortly, and we are away. Green flag, fantastic start from Josh Thomas.
Stalled on the grid back there?
Yeah. Bailey Bell not away. Bailey Bell's actually been swamped from second place on the grid as well. He has dropped all the way back to around about P5 or 6. But looks as though they're fairly safe going into turn one. Josh Thomas has the lead. This car's 3 and 4 wide back there. I can't imagine these guys are all going to sort themselves out without incident, but it's looking pretty clean so far.
Here we got the 087 having a look on the inside of this Infinity Motorsports Mustang. I don't think he got that job done there.
All very, very clean, though. I'm looking back in the pack, and everybody's gotten away really, really well. So good to see Josh Thomas out to a decent lead already. You'd have to say, looking at that, it's the best part of a second. He's in front. And James Ruwalt, his old sparring partner from last week, sitting there in second place. Although it just looks as though Josh Morgan, last week's pole sitters, just taking a look at the back of Ruwalt as well.
Looks like we've had a crash or cold roll back there. I think I saw a fishy motorsports car in that section that we were talking about earlier. Saw him go off. I'm not sure if he made contact with the barrier, but see how he progresses from there.
Yeah, we've got John Schultz off the track as well, actually, and he's just escaped back to the pits, just taking that toe back to the pits.
For replay, he's gone outside the sweeper. He did get the ball on the outside of the sweeper there, out of the bridge.
Right, okay. So, yeah, I could see a bit of damage on the side of that car, so surprising that something's actually taken place there. But yeah, so we've got Josh Thomas still up there in the lead. He's got a nice little handy gap over James Ruwalt, who's just coming under a little bit of pressure from Josh Morgan now. And they've got a bit of a gap back to Brodie Scott, who's recovered. No, it wasn't actually Brodie Scott who got that bad start, was it? But he's sort of hanging around down there as well. He's just in about fourth place at the moment, I think. And then we've gone back to Hettersheld and Ben, who are side by side coming down this long back straight. And it looks as though just got Jonathan Ben there. He was close. Jesus. And looks like Ben trying to hold on around the outside. I thought he was going to give best to Hettersheld there. And we got one of the fishy cars outside wall, and he struck the outside wall. I think that was Michael Whiting. It was Michael Whiting. He's gone straight on at the last turn and whacked the outside wall. And these cars, like, they're so sensitive on that front suspension. I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to be a bit left-hand down or something in the car.
Yeah, definitely the battle between Jonathan Ben goes on. Oh, we got one sports going around and someone in the background as well. He makes light contact with the inside barrier. He should get away with that.
Yeah, we've got a couple off there, don't we? We've got one of them's Bailey Bell, who started on the front row. And just having a look, the other one is Alex Court. So Alex Court, a new signing for JP Simshed just recently, actually, in his first race for the team. I think I'm right in saying, and he has definitely come off second best from that one. So he's going to have to grab that car by the scruff of the neck and drag it up from the back of the grid. No such problems for Josh Thomas, however, who's put himself out to a handy little lead.
Just got a replay up here of Bailey Bell actually entering the turn one now. So I think Alex got loose in front of him. Oh, no, contact from Bailey Bell into Alex Court, turns the 44 around, and the 96 goes, exit stage right. He's going to make contact with the barrier.
Well, mate, we'll see if race control have anything to say about that. So, They're looking after everything for us. David Camilleri, DC, up there in race control. Very experienced guy, has actually done some work in real life supercar racing as well, as far as a race control standpoint. So certainly a man who knows what he's doing and a great man to have on board, calling the shots from up in race control. So keeping these guys in order and dropping the hammer whenever somebody digresses.
Yes, it looks like Josh Thomas has made a great start again. He's got a bit of a gap there, and he's got I can't see who's behind him. I think it's Ruwalt actually behind him still in second, and I'm not sure who's third at the moment, but he's got a bit of a battle. He's running a bit wide in that fish sports car, so he's going to get attacked by the 222 maybe.
Yeah, I'm just having a look at Michael Whiting as well. He was dropping back quite a way on that back straight. He may have just had a slowdown penalty because he lost a lot of positions, 2, 3, 4 positions, something like that, and has dropped quite a few spots there. So remains to be seen. It looks as though he's back up the race pace now, however, though, so he should be okay. But status quo remains at the front. It looks as though Ruwalt's just pulled out a little way on Josh Morgan. And Morgan now coming under a little bit of pressure from Brodie Scott. So Brodie Scott really breathing hard on the back of that Fishy Motorsports Mustang.
Yeah, we're on board with Brodie Scott at the moment, actually. In this battle, he's going to have a look on the inside. Gets on the brake a bit earlier, has a better thing of it. Although the Fish B Sports Motorsports Scott, sorry, I'm getting a bit twisted here. He's gone, well, he's made contact.
Oh, okay. Well, he sort of made that move, hasn't he? But I think, and just kind of looking at that one back myself, I think that perhaps, yeah, Brodie's tried to take the best line, sort of, take straight line it out, and has just not accounted for the fact that Morgan was still there, I think. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not in race control, so, but...
Very strange, isn't it?
Yeah, very, very strange incident. There was another car going around behind well, actually, so...
We've just got a replay up now, actually, sorry.
Yeah, go
so they're coming through the speaker at the moment, so you got Brodie Scott in looking up the inside of the 675, sorry, so he has a look. Going to slow-mo here. Super slow-mo for the fans at home. Cars look great. So obviously, 675, I'm not sure who that is, but he goes in there a bit deeper than he wants to go, obviously. Morgan it is. Gets it pulled up, though. Then, it looks like Brodie Scott sort of just drives off and takes his normal line, not realising there's a Mustang on his inside. Contact's made, and around goes Scott.
All right, well, that's unfortunate for those guys getting involved in some quite early race. Of course, it is only 16 laps. So a bit of a sprint here. We should have this over and done within half an hour, certainly. So also, big thanks to Dripping Paint's graphics for providing our replays there. They look absolutely fantastic, as do everything the Dripping Paint's graphics put out. So anyway, back to the front. Joshua Thomas sitting there. He's got 1.9 seconds over James Ruwalt, and those two have really cleared out with the problems that Josh Morgan had, just getting mixed up with Brodie Scott. That's actually given the two leaders a 6-second lead over this next pack. So we've got Morgan, Heddershell, Jonathan Ben tucked right up behind him still. Looks like that battle is going to run all race. And then we've got Jamie Davis in there behind, just keeping a bit of a watching brief at the moment. If either of those guys make a mistake, he is going to be ready to pounce there from 6th position. Looking back a little bit further, Cameron Veacock and Lachlan Maneef having a good little stoush there. Michael Whiting's driving a little bit lonely comparatively. And Tony Gaffer, who put in a great run last week, he's coming under a little bit of pressure from Matthew Kidd behind him in that JINX Shifters column.
Yeah, actually, just keeping an eye. We'll just jump on board with Matthew Kidd right now. Oh, he goes in there deep, very deep.
Very deep.
Just pull it up.
All right, so just having a look. Oh, yeah, he's waving the back end of the car around. It looks as though that Bow Repairs Commodore there, Marty Hansen, just had to take to the grass to avoid him just very briefly. But it looks as though they've got all that gathered back up, and they'll all wait to fight another day. And there's quite a train now forming up behind Matthew Kidd. He's just lost a lot of momentum and allowed a lot of guys to catch him. But we'll see if he's able to just play again and maybe catch back up to the back of Tony Gaffer.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's all about rhythm in these cars. So you've got to get into that rhythm, and less work you do, the faster you go. So it's smooth as fast. As soon as you get out of the rhythm, you start losing the time, and you can definitely see it. But we've got a few good battles going on up here. So we're looking at Jamie Davis at the moment going through the last turn. He's got the JP Simshed car number 14 behind him. Dr. Monef.
Monef.
Sorry, it's a Monef. That's him. He's under attack from the one behind him, which is Vicock. He's having a look up the inside. Oh, there's
Oh,
that was close, I think.
yeah, definitely. One of those things that it could even be that he's just trying to get Lachlan to take a look at, just watch his mirrors probably a little bit more than he wants to be, and that might. We talked about last week a little bit, didn't we, about guys sort of splitting their attentions between what's going on in front and what's going on behind, and how you just don't need that when you're trying to set nice, smooth, consistent laps and overtake people and so on. So very, very difficult. But we did just see Vicock just put wheels over onto the curb. Got a little bit of two-wheeled action going on, and of course that has slowed him up and just dropped him off the back of Manif a little bit.
We got another battle going on here. We've got the 222 of Brody Scott having a look up the inside of Richardson, Simon Richardson. That's the Jinx man himself.
Yeah, Mr. Jinx. Yeah. So he's got the job done. I think Simon gave him a little there, so that's good, clean racing there. Good to see. It looks as though now he's got to come under pressure from Bailey Bell, who of course is going to be looking to make a recovery drive. Dives down the inside.
In there.
Yeah, and he's definitely got that done. He's going to slot in now behind his teammate, and probably smart there from Richardson, not really wanting to hold Bailey Bell up. Of course, he had the pace to qualify on the front row, and there's probably not an awful lot to be gained by trying to hold him up. So he will just let him go, tuck him behind, maybe try and copy a bit of his line, a bit of his braking point, etc., and maybe hope that those two of those cars in front are going to drag him forward.
Well, that's exactly right. Bell's on a drive back. He's on a mission, so he's going on recovery mode basically at the moment. So at the moment, Roy on board with Simon Chadwick down the back straight. He's in a battle with Hanson and Clark behind.
All right, looks as though there's been a little bit of an accident back in the pack. Looks as though Isaac Edwards, a little bit of an incident, although I can't see too much damage on that car. But he certainly is. No car around him. Certainly on his own, so did get a bit of word through that perhaps he had a bit of an incident somewhere. So unfortunate for him, but no damage on that car as far as I can see. So he'll be trucking on, and we're starting to get. I think we're probably a couple of laps away now from seeing some pit stops.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting as we saw last week. Some decided to stop early with that safety car, which ended up being the wrong call because your race leader at the moment, Josh Thomas, did stay out and grab a gap and managed to stop later and win the race. So it'll be interesting to see what he comes up with this week.
All right, and Peter Hunter, part of the Velocity racing, it's actually been just given a 30-second penalty by race control. He's already one lap off the pace, so not a good night for Peter so far.
No, I haven't seen that come across my board yet, but I'd imagine race control will be onto that, and that's unfortunate for Peter, but obviously there's rules and you've got to abide by them.
Yeah, certainly. I'll see if anybody can actually find out exactly what it was, but he is, definitely going to have to 30-second penalty. So he's going to have to roll down the pit lane and actually take that one. So as we were saying, a couple of laps away from some safety cars now, as we just see one of the JINX cars, one of the mini JINX cars throw itself down the inside. That was Chris Kerr actually putting a big move. No, it wasn't Chris Kerr actually. It was Darren Caldwell putting a move on Chris Kerr. My apologies. So Caldwell getting that move done, and just hoping obviously to try and move himself a little bit further forward. These guys are sort of down the tail end of the pack at the moment. They're sort of fighting over the mid-20 positions in the mid-20s. But anyway, so they're out there doing what they can, and they might try and roll the dice on pit strategy to maybe bump themselves up a little bit more. But I'm just having a look now at the battle between Josh Morgan, Daniel Hederscheid, and Jonathan Ben. So those guys very, very close. They were certainly very, very close coming through the last turn, which they've just exited now, running down there towards turn one. And there's a little bit of tyre locking, a little bit of aggression going on in there. So certainly these guys fighting hard at this stage of the race.
Yeah, he's definitely got a battle on his hands there. He's got Jonathan Ben behind him. The Infinity cars look nice and bright, pink. I like that.
They do.
Down at the pink. Stand out, which is what we like to see.
Yeah, they certainly do. I think I'm right in saying, and I'm not 100% on top of all these teams yet, that's one of the 111 racing cars.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I think that's run by Steve Kirk, I believe, who is the owner and builder of this Infinity product.
Ah, right, okay. No problems at all then. I wonder what prominent Infinity branding on those cars. Well, That's why, and they look absolutely fantastic out there on the track. And we've got Daniel there in the number 35, in a 4th place at the moment. So really good result for that team. Hopefully, for his sake, he's able to hang on to it. But one guy who doesn't want him to hang on to it is Jonathan Ben, who's right in there behind him, pushing very, very hard. And as we said at the start of the race, it looked like this battle was going to run and run for possibly the entire length. And it looks as though that may well very turn out to be the case, because those two have not been any further apart than that for pretty much the entire race distance. I'm just having a look a little bit further back. Jamie Davis coming under a little bit of threat from Lachlan Manif. He's been in a bit of action, and Manif throws it down the inside. Bit of a snatch of the front wheel there. And the next turn is going to favour Davis, but no, it looks like Manif's done the over-under there, and it looks as though Davis trying to come back on him. Davis has actually got a really good run out of that turn, and he's going to get some overlap there. Manif's trying to crowd him to sides better, goes back to the racing line, and now we're going to see possibly a little bit of late braking here going into the last turn. This last turn's such a key turn to get right. I've driven around there a few times. I don't think I've ever managed to get it right. And yeah, it looks as though Davis is going to stay in front for the time being, but certainly Manif really getting up onto the back of Davis there. We got James Ruwalt in the pits actually. He has come in for 2nd place, so he has decided to roll the dice, come into the pit lap 8, and we'll see what kind of pit stop he is able to get. This
Sorry, as well. Maybe Manif's having a look on the inside of Davis again to try and get back under him. So he's right on his hammer at the moment.
It's a good battle, this, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. And is he going to get the run out here? He might get a bit of aero wash, but he'll also get a bit of aero pull on the back of this car. So we'll see if he has a dive down into the hairpin down here. He's having a look. There he goes. He's a bit of smoke from the brakes. He gets it in there, backs it in there almost. MotoGP style, makes the pass. And that's going to leave Davis open to Veacock.
Veacock, yeah. Veacock would have been sitting there licking his lips the entire time there, hoping those two were going to come together. But they managed to do it cleanly. But I'll tell you what, Davis is not going to lose the 2nd position. Oh, he snatches the rear brakes a little bit and gets a bit sideways.
Well, this is a good battle.
Yeah, it's going to turn out to be one, isn't it? So, yeah, there's actually really good battles down the track. It's almost a little bit hard to know where to look at the moment. The field has spread out a little way, but there's little battles going on all over the place. Gaffer's having a nice battle with Hansen. That's a particularly nice looking little one. Oh, someone's in the wall.
I was going to say, I saw a car just in the tyre wall there.
Veacock, it's Veacock. We saw him only a couple of minutes ago having a look at Davis. And what's he done?
Just go through a replay.
And he's just oversteered and locked up the brakes and just nudged the fence, and that's a bit sad, isn't it? Like he's just
Here we go.
a real nothing incident, and he's still in the fence, and he's actually is he? Looks as though he's not going to be able to recover that car to the pits. He's just kind of sitting there at the moment.
You can see on a slow motion replay the car bouncing through that turn there, so get a sort of a picture of how rough this track is. And here he comes up. This is a bit of a late apex here. So what's he done here? He's got up on the curve a little bit, and yeah, it was very strange, that one, wasn't it? Sort of took off to the right. That may have been a failure or something on the sim rig, I guess, maybe. But yeah, he's parked up in the fence there.
You could see the car rocking as if he was trying to get it in gear.
Yeah, he's still on the fence there now as we just passed him then.
Yeah, but he's moving again now. So he's shed a bucket load of time, and it did look as though he was just struggling to get that car going again, which is unusual. But anyway, he's on his way. Now, we did talk earlier on about James Ruwalt having come into the pits. He brought that Pace Syndicate Mustang down into pit road, and he's dropped down to 17th position. So he's going to come out on fresh tyres, though, and he's going to have a pace advantage, but he is going to be potentially losing a bit of time trying to make some moves on the pack, which are still on those older tyres. So remains to be seen whether or not that strategy will pay off for him. I'm a little bit interested to see when the leaders are going to respond, whether they're going to make a move for the pit lane quite shortly.
Just saw Manif come out of the pit stand. There was a fair few cars in there, so it's all starting to play out here.
Oh, we've got one gone off as well. We've got off the track. There's Darren Caldwell. He's actually locked up right down there at, I guess, what used to be the hairpin, and now is a little bit of an S-bend sort of arrangement. And he's just run out there onto the grass, regathered that, and will live to fight another day.
Going to look at a replay of this. Caldwell, you said, wasn't it?
It was Caldwell, yes, Darren Caldwell.
Here he comes. gone through a DRS zone. Obviously, the V8s don't have a DRS, but the answer
Imagine
was
if they did, though.
I don't know if we needed any more water than what it is, but here he is. What's he done here? So he gets on the brakes here hard, and yeah, he's sort of just gone in a bit too deep, and instead of trying to spin it, lock the rears, he's decided to lesser of two evils, just straight line the little S-bend, like you were saying, and get back on the track and continue on.
All right. Just while you were talking about that, James mentioned he's coming out of the pits on fresh rubber. He's tucked in there at the moment, right behind Ben Morris and Chris Kerr as well. And those two have been going at each other just about all race. And Ruwalt now is not going to be wanting to waste time with these guys. He's got the fresh tyres. He's got a lot of pace in that car, as we saw earlier on, and he's going to want to clear these guys ASAP. He's got to get around them. And Kerr's pulled in the pits. That's going to help him out.
Josh Morgan's in the pits also.
Our leader, Josh. Oh, no, it's not our leader. It's Morris. Thomas, I'm sorry. Thomas was our leader. He has pitted. For the second week in a row, I think we've actually missed his pit stop. But he's been into the pits and come out in P7. So he's actually come out just ahead of James Ruwalt. It looks like, when I say just ahead, it's actually a good few seconds. So it looks as though in all of that, he may have actually extended that gap. And I think just getting past Ben Morris has cost Ruwalt a little bit of extra time as well. So the battle for the lead, not overly close at the moment.
That's always the risk you take when you sort of stop early, or when the shuffle's taking place. You can get caught out by the slower cars if they're trying to run a bit longer to have a shorter run home. Yeah, you can get caught out with the slower cars there.
Yeah, well, I don't blame Ruwalt for rolling the dice. I mean, he was in such a good position last week, wasn't he? And spun right at the end with a little bit of mistake under acceleration, just spun up the rears and spun it off the track. So he's going to be wanting to make amends. So I don't imagine that he would have had too many qualms about rolling the dice and making that pit stop strategy, try and make it work for him. And just taking a look down the order as we've got it at the moment, Josh Morgan has not pitted yet. He's still out there in the lead. And Tony Gaffer is actually 4.6 seconds roughly behind him. Although I think that perhaps we've seen Gaffer in the pits as well. It seems to be a lot more than 4.6 seconds now. So we're just waiting for everything to sort of play out, everybody to take their pit stop, and we'll get a bit more of an idea of a true race order.
Yeah, I've got Gaffer up there, and who's actually leading at the moment, who looks like he's just coming to the pits maybe now. Sure. Oh no, sorry, he's still out there. So the gap looks like it's 52 seconds at the moment, so he's definitely still to come in there.
I'm just looking.
Oh no, he did enter pit lane. Sorry, I've just screen here. He's in pit lane, and Brody Scott has also come in.
All right, so we got just about everybody now making that pit lane. I'm sure there are some drivers out there that are going to try and run those tanks as dry as they can. Of course, they're limiting fuel here for this particular race. And I'm just looking back at Matthew Kidd. He is right on the back of Isaac Edwards. And
all over him like a cheap suit.
Yeah, we saw Isaac Edwards. He possibly had a little bit of an issue earlier on in that number 17 race on Oz Mustang. And Matthew Kidd's, certainly doing everything he can, just trying a little bit of a different line through to the final turn. Yeah. Just trying to potentially get on throttle a bit early, and Isaac's pitted, so that's going to work out for him anyway.
Yeah, so that was a bit of an anticlimax for us, but
thought we might get a nice side-by-side run down the front straight, but not today.
Nice group up with Chris Barnes here, as we can see. We've got one of the MFR cars running, which is Wayne Taylor, who's having a great night tonight. He's in 15th currently, and a couple of the other cars in front, we've got Bailey Bell and Tony under all sorts of pressure from Wayne Taylor. Looks to go down the inside in the MFR Mustang. Does he know? Chris Barnes gets it under brakes.
we've seen a lot of cars struggling down there under brakes. A lot of cars are looking for overtaking moves, and then just we've seen a couple of cars run off. So I think that it may well be quite a treacherous braking zone down there that doesn't inspire confidence in the drivers. That Chris Barnes has just locked his rear brakes actually, and that's going to give that Mustang behind him a really good shot. Wayne Taylor just sticking the nose in there, and doesn't look like he's quite going to be able to get it done this time. But if he can make Chris Barnes make one mistake, potentially can make him make another.
Yeah, it's definitely easy to lock a brake or pinch a brake down as a hairpin. As we're looking at Marty Hansen, it's put a bit of pressure on Manif at the moment in the JINX Shifter Commodore. I think I'm saying his name right. Manif.
I say Manif. I think that's right.
We'll go with it.
Yeah, I should know. He's my teammate, but I've got a few. So just having a look at Tony Clark as well. Just having we got Tony Clark and Joseph Daly just running along the back straight together. They're side by side. It looks like Tony Clark's just tried to crowd him a little bit, but he has got overlap there. He's going to brake as late as he dares into that final turn. He's got 2 cars up there down the inside. He's potentially going to lose 2 spots here unless he can get on the throttle nice and early, which it looks as though he has done. No wheel spin at all, so that's quite nice. And they're going to run 1, 2, 3. We've got Daly there, right tucked up behind him. Tony Clark having another look, and it looks like Bailey Bell still carrying all that pace and trying to work his way back up. He's 13th at the moment, and trying to take advantage of these two and get back to where I'm sure he believes he should be, which is at the front of this field.
Oh, just as you're talking there, we've got a good battle on the screen here with Hansen and Tyson McAvoy, I think it is.
Oh, it's on, isn't it? I think that's Lachlan Manini for Money Hansen.
Yeah, it is. Manini.
Yeah,
Tyson's got a good front row seat for it, but he's on the outside now. See if he can do the crisscross back. He's going to get hung out there, but he does have a bit of extra speed, Hansen. So he had a look at him down into the last turn there and tried to do a bit of a crisscross and down into turn 1. So he's working away to see if he can get it done on this lap at some point.
Yeah, he's going to be looking to, and there's plenty of opportunities here.
Yeah, definitely.
With some good opportunities to overtake, but of course the bumps. So you've always got to remember that the bumps are likely to throw you off. But this battle really getting quite tight there. Manif's just doing everything he can to place his bumper exactly where it needs to be, which is right in front of the rear bumper of Hansen, because Hansen, of course, can't drive through him. So he's going to need to find a way around.
Well, that's it. Just drop the rear off just as you come on there on the exit. Tyson's sizing this battle up as well by the looks of it. He's gained a lot of time over this lap, so any minute, any tick of the clock now, he's going to be in this battle with them.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? You can see, and once again, we're seeing a bit of guys just fighting for overlaps along this back straight.
Oh, we've got one around the background.
Is that Morgan?
Who's that? That's Daly, Joseph Daly.
Daly. Okay, it's the other fishy motorsport thing.
Hansen's on the inside. He's going to get tight through here. Is he going to get the job done through the exit? The outside car was. Right, we're going to a replay here. Sorry.
I'll watch it down the straight side by side together, those two. And Manif's going to hold on to the. So you'd expect him to have the advantage through turn 1, and indeed he does. Holds on to that spot.
Just watching the replay of Joseph Daly. Looks like he's overcooked it. He's just about to come out onto the back straight, or it really is a back straight, but it's not really.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
It just drops the wheel off on the outside of the grass. Easily done. Hard into the inside concrete. Gets it going though, so he'll recover, and hopefully he doesn't have too much damage and can get that home.
All right, just back to that battle between Hansen and Manif. Hansen is all over the back of Manif. Manif driving defensive for all he's worth, trying to hold off. Of course, we've only got a couple of to go now. We're on 13 of 16. So, you might not think...
by, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's flown by, all right. It's been a great race and battles going on everywhere. We're focusing on this one at the moment, but trust me, there are battles like this going on all over the circuit. And if only we had some sort of split screen arrangement, we could show them all to you. But I imagine commentating for that may put a terrible strain on the vocal cords.
Oh, Bailey Bell goes up the inside, runs the 66, I believe, out a bit. But they did stay on the track and gathered up. So the 66, who's that? Tony Clark having a look on his outside now. Wow, we've got a massive battle here. We've got Wayne Taylor's going to be in this battle. Who else is there behind that? Simon Chadwick.
This has got all the hallmarks of something that's going to end in some bent metal very, very soon. Everywhere.
So juicy. Look at this. We've got the 2 wide through the kink here.
This is Daytona-style pack racing on a road course.
Oh.
All right, I think Gaffer there having a look to the inside as well, those two.
Yeah, they're going to go side by side down this little back chute, back straight. Right on the chopper.
Yeah, fantastic. So they're going to run side by side. They've got identical power, identical speeds in theory. So, yeah, we've just got Gaffer there having the inside, not willing to give up around the outside, though, Chris Bynes. And why should he? And he's got to try and hold on around the outside, get on nice and early and slingshot thing onto that front straight. And he's done exactly that.
It's so tight in that little pack there. What a great battle pack.
Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it? And they're still going at it down into turn 1. I think basically in this scenario, each driver's just looking to put their car where somebody else's isn't. And that's pretty much the best you could hope for. And Alex Court's actually, mate, he stuck his. Where's he come from? He wasn't in amongst
he's had a
that.
great race so far. So you've got battles everywhere. So you're looking for backwards. It's hard to defend and also attack at the same time. So someone's getting an advantage and someone's getting a disadvantage here.
Yeah, all right. So they're all just about similar again for a moment. Although I imagine somebody's going to throw one out, and Brodie Scott obliges me there. Just has a look down the inside of Gaffer. And positions are changing all the time in this battle pack. It's certainly the biggest battle pack on the track at the moment. But just in case you are wondering what's going on in the lead of this race, Joshua Thomas leading over James Rue by 7.7 seconds over Jonathan Ben in third. Josh Morgan has recovered to fourth. Jamie Davis fifth, and that is your top five as things stand.
Yeah, Jonathan Ben's had a great race. He's had a few battles tonight. He's up there in third place at the moment, at the podium, so he'll be looking to hold on to that position. He's actually got a bit of pressure on Ruwald at the moment, looking down the back straight here. So he's got a bit of speed at the moment.
Yeah, Ben right on the back of Ruwald. So
got to quite get down there this time by, but he's definitely all over him. He's going to look to shape up a pass in the next 2 laps. I think we've only got 2 laps to run in this one.
Yeah, Ruwald's still going to be a bit sore after losing out on that second place. He is not going to want to lose out on another one. So expect to see him defending against Ben for all he is worth. But at the same time, Jonathan Ben's going to go, well, you know what? If I've got the speed, I'm entitled to that second place. So I'm going to throw one up the inside, especially coming to these last laps. And of course, race control watching very, very carefully to make sure nobody oversteps the bounds. But of course, you can bang on each other and do some nice hard racing without overstepping the bounds. So let's hope we get to see a little bit of it before the end of the race. If they do at the front of the pack anything like what they've been doing further down in the pack, it's going to be an absolute fantastic battle for them.
Yeah, definitely. We've got Josh Morgan, who looks like he's going to get in this battle too. He's having a bit of an expression sideways. He's going to try and get on the back of this battle, I think, and this will be a good battle for second place here.
Yeah, he's lost a bit of time there, hasn't he? Just a bit of rear end. And just Ruwald there, he's got the gap between himself and Ben just keeps concertinaing that little bit, doesn't it? I think there's a part of the track where Ben's fast, and I think there's also a part of the track where potentially Ruwald is faster.
Yeah, definitely.
Ruwald has just got to, if he's sort of watching his mirrors at the moment, just got to make sure he's hitting all the braking points, all his apexes, everything like that, making sure that in the part of the track where Ben is strong, that he is able to not leave him a gap in order to force his way by, and then he's got to maximise the section of the track where he is stronger than Jonathan. Yeah,
I've had a good battle with Jonathan Ben actually recently, and so he's a very clean racer. So I don't think he's going to do anything silly, but he's going to try and pressure Ruwald into a mistake here, I'd say. But Ben definitely looks faster in this last sector, and I think it swings back to Ruwald.
Oh, he's having a look. He's having a look.
Oh, he's late on brakes, so he's always going to have...
Ruwald's just run a little bit wide there. It's such an interesting corner, that last...
Oh, it's bouncy too. Look at that Commodore bouncing through there.
Yeah, the load's going through the suspension there, yeah. And Ruwald looks as though he's going to pick that up, but he's going to cross to the right-hand side, which is going to invite Ben down the left.
Look, he goes deep. He goes deep. That's going to get tight through you.
Why did he cross back over that side of the road? He's
got the run. He's going to get it. I think he's going to get the job done. He's going to have to get late on the brakes here.
No, Ruwald's covered him off. I thought he'd thrown it all away then by moving. Inviting Jonathan Ben down the inside. But in the end, it's okay. So we're on the final lap now. This race has absolutely delivered again, hasn't it? Got Josh Thomas out there. He's out there to a 10.3 second lead at the moment. But the real battle here is for P2. We got Ruwald. We got Ben tucked right up behind him. We got Josh Morgan tucked right up behind him. And you can't help but think that second place, barring some calamity, is going to come from one of these three, and they all want it.
Absolutely. It's been a great race tonight. Lots of battles all over the park tonight. So Josh has done a great job out front, Thomas. And he's looking to work halfway through the lap there. So he's got about half a lap to go before he claims the second victory. But we go back to the battle for second place here. And Ruwald's just got a bit of a gap over Ben at the moment. And Morgan looks like he's going to put pressure on Ben now.
Yeah, I was just about to say something very similar. Gap Ben a little bit. I'm not sure if Ben made a little bit of a mistake, but he seems to be just sort of pulling out from Morgan now as well. So is this over? I don't think for a moment that it is, because Ben's very, very quick through this section. And if he can slingshot himself out onto this back straight well, he may be able to have a look. But I think that potentially Morgan has done a better job, and he may even be looking into the last turn. But I believe Josh Thomas rounding the last turn. Well done. 2 from 2. Josh Thomas for Fishy Motorsports. He's going to get that job done. Nice handy championship.
Nice flash of the lights across the line. It's not over yet. But,
no, it's not over yet for second. It looks as though Ruwot, he'd have to do something wrong now, wouldn't he? Miss a gear or something like that.
There's no lights flashing here. There wasn't too much concentration here to be flashing lights. Great race.
Second, third, fourth across the line like Ruwot, Ben and Morgan. Now we're looking at Davis, who's just been taken by Heddershell on the last lap. Unfortunately, we missed that one. And Whiting crossing the line now. Hansen, McAvoy, and Manif has just been overtaken on the last turn by Bailey Bell, and he's glanced the outside wall, smashed up the front of that JINX Commodore, but it doesn't matter. It's done its job.
He gets it home. That's a recovery drive. He got back to 10th in the end by the looks of it, Bailey Bell.
Yeah, he'll still be rotten with
himself. Down where he started.
Yeah, he'll still be rotten with himself. But the rest of them crossing the line now, and what we might do is we might, just as all the other drivers filter in, we're getting the sort of 20th, 30th places coming across the line now, because we might run through our full race results and then perhaps get some of these guys who've entertained us so brilliantly tonight in here for an interview. So start off, of course, Joshua Thomas, our winner. James Ruwot coming across the line for a well-deserved second place. He had to fight for it, didn't he? Jonathan Ben just misses out on getting that second. He finishes third. Josh Morgan in fourth. Daniel Hedderscheid in fifth. Then we got Jamie Davis, sixth. Michael Whiting, seventh. Nice recovery drive. Marty Hansen in P8. Tyson McAvoy, P9. Bailey Bell, as we mentioned, got up to P10. Lachlan Manif, we saw him battling quite a few tonight, didn't we? P11 in the end for him. Tony Clark, then Chris Barnes, Brody Scott, 12th, 13th, and 14th. When we got Alex Court there in 15th. Wayne Taylor, 16th, Simon Chadwick, and Tony Gaffer, 17th and 18th. Matthew Kidd, Laseth Leonage, we didn't see too much of him tonight. He finishes 20th. Chris Kerr, Darren Caldwell in 22nd. Alexander Newton, Tim Mulford, Benjamin Siren coming home in 25th. Simon Richardson, Mr. JINX, he's there in 26th position. Riley Curtis, we didn't see him tonight either, 27th. Jason Hardigan down there in 28th. Cameron Veacock after that off and difficulty getting that car back going, finishes 29th. Then we've got Paul Warwick, Isaac Edwards, Ben Morris, Joseph Daly, Peter Hunter, John Schultz, Craig Schultz, and Jack Johnston rounding out the 38 drivers. So, wow, what'd you make of that one?
Yeah, it was definitely a good race tonight. As you can see, the race results coming up on your screen for you there real quick. Also, yep, so they're up there for you to see the points as well for the race results winners tonight. But, yeah, the race was great. It's straight from the get-go, basically. We saw that car still on the grid, and from there on, it was battles all the way through, right to the end.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? I mean, I think I made a remark at one point during that race about how we had NASCAR-style pack racing, but on a road course in V8 Super. Unbelievable some of the stuff we're seeing tonight.
And actually, you can see the championship standings there have already been updated. So we've got Josh Thomas on 447 points leading at the moment, Fishy Motorsports, and his teammate Josh Morgan in behind him. As we roll through that, you can read out the names as you like, look for your favourite driver. But yeah, all in all, a great race tonight.
All right. So just as we wait for the winners to sort of make their way into the Discord so we can have a little bit of a chat with them, we might take this opportunity to answer our track trivia, our Sebring track trivia for this week.
Oh, so it wasn't Bombers. So it wasn't the B-17.
It wasn't the B-17 Bombers. No, 1975 Sebring. They did stick to race cars.
I could have sworn there was a B-17 race at that time of the year. Well, that time of the century?
Well, I mean, it was probably about 20 years earlier, and I'm not sure if they classified it as a race.
Must have been Silverstone then I was thinking of.
Yeah, potentially. Potentially. Yeah, lots of airfield circuits, of course, in the UK, but this one here in the United States, in Florida. So, what was unique about the 1965 Sebring 12-hour? Well, the fact was that in the early hours of the morning, it started to rain. And not only did it rain, but it was a horrendous storm, turning the track into a flood. Now, I'm not talking about the normal type of flooding where you get a mildly moist circuit and they roll around under the safety car for 25 laps, all talking about how they can't see, and then they red flag the race. No, they didn't red flag this thing. We weren't talking millimeters of rain. We're talking inches of rain.
Nice.
The entire circuit was floodplain. They were racing over inches of water, unable to see where the track was going, literally aiming from landmark to landmark to landmark to make their laps. They had some of the cars driving very slowly because bow waves they were building up in front of them were getting into the electrics and causing them problems. And they didn't red flag the race. They just let it run its full 12 hours under green, as you used to do in the 60s, with no care for safety or anything like that. And in the end, it was Jim Hall and Hap Sharp coming home in first place in the Chaparral Chevrolet.
Oh, Jimmy Hall, eh?
Oh, Jim Hall, who actually used to build the Chaparral race cars as well.
There was actually a race recently that you reminded me of. There was the one in Dubai at the Yas Marina circuit.
I guarantee it didn't rain there.
Oh, well, I'm pretty sure it did, actually.
Did it?
I'm sure it did. It definitely did, because I saw it flooded. The pits were flooded and everything. So yeah, you'll have to Google that one, mate.
Yeah, might have to.
It was only just the start of this year, I believe, or late last year. But yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Well, I can only imagine something sprung a leak because I've never known it to rain there. But anyway, they've got could have even artificial rain happen. So wouldn't be surprised if they had some Boeings up there just dropping water across to make things a little bit more interesting. But
I heard they do that too.
All right, so we do have a winner available here in the group, Joshua Thomas. So we're going to drag him up for a very quick chat just to get his take on the 16 laps that have just taken place. Josh Thomas, Edward Foster here from SimShed Broadcasting. 2 from 2, mate. How's that feel?
Just dropped out. I'm not sure what he's dropped out for. Has he got an issue? Okay,
I think we're all back. I think everything's fine. So
he's taking himself out. I'm not sure what's going on there.
Okay, all right, mate.
Yeah, so he must have an issue with his mic, possibly, or
yeah, potentially.
He's back. Josh, you got us.
Hey, you there?
Yes.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problems at all. We're here in the end. So, mate, 2 from 2. How does that feel?
Awesome. Not gone any better, to be honest. Smooth sailing for that one, so happy with that.
Well, it was all happening behind you. There was so much stuff going on behind you, but you sort of managed to take off from pole. I think Bill next to you didn't get away overly well and just kind of gave you that gap into turn 1 where you're just able to control the race from there. I mean, was there ever a time when you felt as though you were under threat in that race?
Look, to be fair, when James pitted from behind me a lap early, I thought he might have got the undercut on me, but apart from that, like I said, it was pretty smooth sailing. But I did hear a lot of the chat and Fishy Motorsports chat. There was a few good battles going on, so it's good to see.
Yeah, there certainly were a lot of great battles going on up and down the field, but of course you didn't get to see too much of those. So talk us through the pit strategy, obviously, because as you mentioned, Ruwalt did try to take an undercut there, but you managed to pull it off, and I think you actually gained time overall in the pits as well. So, I mean, did you have a plan before the race about what lap you were going to pit, or were you just going to see how it played out?
It was a bit like last week. We was just going to adapt to whatever came in front of me, and like I said, I was going to stay out for a bit longer, but I saw James pitted, so I thought I might cover him off and cover that one. But like I said, thankfully enough, I got out ahead of him, and yeah, it all went well.
All right, well, that's fantastic to see. So you come away here with a nice championship lead. Next week, of course, we've got another round coming at us. We're racing every week, which is great. So what are you expecting to see there? How are you going to approach that one?
Sorry, you cut out, mate. What did you say? Sorry.
I was just saying, how are you going to approach next week?
I think is it Barcelona or Silverstone? It's one of the two. And I actually don't have those tracks downloaded on iRacing, so I better put laps in because it's going to be awkward if I don't do any.
Yeah, certainly will. Maybe with the great start that you've made for Fishy Motorsports, maybe you can sort of just lean on them a little bit and say, "Hey guys, I'm leading the championship, so maybe sling us a few credits to pick up those tracks."
I'll have to ask him. We'll see how that.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Tell him I sent you. I'm sure nothing can possibly go wrong. All right. So just before we let you go, mates, sponsors, of course, who would you like to give a shout out to?
A big thanks to all our sponsors and again the Fishy Boys. Again, great bunch of blokes, keeping me good company, which is good. And big shout out to the boys who set up these lobbies and set up the whole event. I understand it's probably a massive effort. So yeah, thank you for that.
All right, absolutely fantastic. Well, there you have it, guys. You second week in a row now. It's looking ominous, isn't it? Joshua Thomas, thank you very much to him. All right, so we got second place. We've got James Ruwalt there. Not sure. Yeah, it looks as though he may actually have his be muted at the moment, so I'm not sure that he's necessarily ready for a chat. So I was hoping to also grab perhaps Jonathan Ben in. He was in third place. Oh no, James looks like he's just come ready, so I might just grab him in, and I'll let you do the honours, Dave.
Yeah, too easy. James, Dave from Simshed TV, mate. How are you?
Yeah.
You got us, James?
Okay, sounds like James might be having a couple. Oh no, is he there?
Hello.
Hey, James.
Yes.
How are you, mate?
Thanks. How are you?
Good, good. Mate, some close racing out there towards the end. Talk us through it, mate.
Yeah, it was pretty full on. A lot of pressure from behind those last 3 laps. It was battles.
Yeah, it certainly was. We noticed that you took an earlier pit stop. What was your thought process behind that, mate? Did you try and go for an undercut there, or?
Yeah, undercut was the idea, but my outlap, I hit brake and went off the track, so that's the idea.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Well, yeah, as I said, there seemed to be some good racing out there. Give us your thoughts. Plenty of room given from all the competitors out there that you can see.
Yeah, it was a good clean race this week as opposed to last week. But I think everyone's gotten used to the concept and yeah, it's good looking.
Yeah, definitely is, and it's a good bounce back for P2, mate. After last week, spending late on in the piece at Montreal, there, mate.
Yeah, had that was.
Yeah, we certainly have with the P2 tonight, mate. Before we let you go, mate, any sponsors or shout outs, mate?
Up to the Pace Syndicate boys.
Perfect. There you go. Your P2, James Ruwalt for Pace.
All right, so there he is, your second place getter, James Ruwalt, and I'm sure he's very happy being able to bring home the bacon for P2. And last guy we're going to bring in here tonight, John O'Ben from Middle Finger Racing. He managed to get third place tonight, so fantastic effort from him. And we're going to bring him in and have a little bit of a chat about how it went from his perspective. John O'Ben, Edward Foster here from Simshed Broadcasting. P3 tonight, fantastic effort. Talk us through it.
Yeah, cheers. Absolutely love Sebring as a track. Always gone fairly well here, and just good, hard, respectful battles going on. Really lets you, put some times down and know, if you give race room, you'll get it. And it's absolutely hooked up on rails tonight.
So we were having a look at you. We were watching quite a lot of your battle with James at the end of the race, and of course you had, I believe you had Josh Morgan in there behind you as well. And as far as we could tell, there was a section of the track where you had the pace advantage, and a section of the track where James was able to extend from you a little bit. Is that sort of how you saw it?
Yeah, for sure. There's, I was into the hairpin. I wasn't as strong as I wanted to be, but through the last series onto the straight, I could usually get up or get near him. But through that last corner, there's 300 different lines, and unfortunately, his and mine seem to be the same pace no matter which way I tried it. So I was trying not to look in the mirror, but Josh was giving me some panic attacks catching us that quick too. So
yeah, we did see a lot of guys trying out different lines at the last corner, and a few guys come to grief as well. But I'm actually glad on the hairpin, because that particular, the braking zone down into that hairpin looked fairly treacherous tonight. There are a few guys sort of looking to line up moves and then thinking better of it. We saw a couple of cars outbrake themselves and go off onto the grass. Was it as bad as it looked?
It seemed slippery, but it also, the different gear ratio was catching me out, and I was two minds whether to drop it back to first. And I think a couple of times I did. It was lighting up some of the lights I didn't want to see, and the panic station start.
All right. Well, fantastic work anyway, coming away with P3 podium. Excellent work. It's always, if you can't win it, at least be on the podium. And certainly gave Middle Finger Racing a fair bit to cheer about tonight. So excellent effort. And just before we let you go, would you like to give a shout out to anybody in particular?
Yep, I was just going to say that. Big shouts out to our sponsors, Snap-on, WP Concreting, Little Tackers Boutique, Andrews Crane Hire, and all those. And also special one to Virtual Car Art, which is Daniel Stevens, who does all our liveries and our paints. Just absolutely smashing it out of the park with how good our cars look lately.
Yeah, certainly. I know the Middle Finger stock cars look fantastic as well. So there's certainly a lot of good paints going around at the moment, being done by Mr. Stevens. So thanks very much for your time, Jonathan. Congratulations on the P3, and we will see you out here next week.
Oh, 100%, and cheers for the broadcast.
No problems at all. Hope you enjoy watching it back. You got a fair bit of air. Much,
Thank
Jonathan
you.
Ben. All right, so that was your third place getter, Jonathan Ben, and that's pretty much a wrap from us, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I did have a point I was going to make, but I've forgotten it now. I had it in my head 2 minutes ago, or 2 seconds ago. Now it's gone.
Like all the great comments, they leave you just at the point you get a chance to say them. So,
Perfect.
Anyway, we will thank everybody very much who's involved in putting the series on. Of course, JP and JINX Shifters, all our great sponsors here, Brizzy Raceway, Sinfinity, Virtual Motorsport Mentor, and of course the drivers, and of course you guys, the spectators watching this. I hope you really enjoyed it. We certainly enjoyed calling it. That race flew by. It was so entertaining. And I think that this series is just going to keep producing this type of racing no matter where we go, and really looking forward to next week. So until then, from me, from Dave Douglas, and from our faithful director here, JP Courier, good night, and we will see you next week.